All right, everybody, welcome in to the very first inaugural kickoff episode of Major League Sorare here on Sorare TV. I'm one of your hosts, TrippinB, and I'm here with my boy Draft Kicks, who actually is the father of this whole idea and the creator of this brand. You created it last year, Draft Kicks, and then real life got in the way and didn't really get to expand things. But such a great name, Major League Sorare, and we talked about it this offseason. We had to bring it to the people. It's time for Major League Sorare to actually exist and launch it, and we're doing it with this show. We're going to be coming at you weekly, talking about all things Sorare in relation to MLS, and maybe we'll expand a little bit to some other America leagues as they intersect with our favorite league, MLS. But you know us. You've seen us in the leaderboards. Hopefully, you've seen us in the chats. Both of us are pretty active Sorare players for the last year and a half. How you doing, Draft Kicks? Great to be having this conversation with you and finally be putting this product out to the people.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Dan. I'm excited, man. Like you said, I kind of had the idea to, wanted to get a little bit more involved as far as content and helping the Sorare game grow, Sorare community. And so, yeah, Major League Sorare was idea that popped up. MLS obviously is kind of what I focus on for my Sorare collection.
Almost exclusively, right?
Yeah, almost exclusively. I still get the itch and dive in to other regions. But yeah, MLS
some of my favorite nights are when we're chatting online and you'll be like, F it, I'm buying an Asian team. Screw it. And then like 2 days later, like, oh, I shouldn't have bought an Asian team. This sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, that might have been there might be a night or two that I'm a couple beers in and I got to get a team in before deadline. But
yeah.
No, but yeah, I'm excited to have you on board. I mean, I think all along, and that was part of the thing as far as diving right in is like you said, I mean, life kind of got a little hectic there. Things at work were going well, which is a good thing, but it just kind of sidetracked the MLS Sorare project to put that on the back burner for a bit. But here we are, and yeah, I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, we're looking at your gallery a little bit now. As when we said committed to MLS players, that extends. Even your legend is an MLS legend. Like you're all the way in when it comes to MLS. And you got some nice cards here. You've got this champion edition Driussi, which gives you a lot of cred. You've tried to sell that card many times, and I'm constantly being like, dude, don't sell your Driussi. That's too good of a card to keep it. You're also known. You're one of the best people I know at collecting the signature cards. Signature edition cards. We can see you got a little signed Julian Gressel over here. I think you have a signed Bradley Stuves that you like to put in play. And I love there's a signed Lewis Morgan. I love seeing you like put your lineups into play with the signed cards. And I'm just like, oh man, that he should get extra points for those. They're so cool.
Yeah. I've had some fun with those, and that might be a story for another day. But the way that I've obtained some of those, it just still kind of mind blowing to me. Is seems a bit surreal, but
we need to do it as like a special bonus Patreon episode, or like maybe have you even like sign up to teach a master class or something like that on like how to negotiate and get these signed cards off of dudes because you're really good at it.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and hey, I get creative with it. I've got a few other ideas up my sleeve this season. Honestly, when I first joined Sorare and started getting involved, I never really thought that I would get as much into the collectible aspect as I have.
Right. Who did?
But it's a real thing. Yeah, it's a real thing, and it's fun, and especially those signature cards. If you're able to interact with the players themselves a little bit, I think that's a cool aspect of Sorare. And so, yeah, I enjoy getting into it. We can talk about that some more as the season progresses.
Definitely. What we're here to do today as we launch the show, the reason we chose today to launch is because just last night, MLS released their schedule for 2023. So now we know who's playing where, who's playing when, who's playing who, and that gives us the chance to break things down. And we want to help people. We want to put this thing out. The schedule changes in MLS now. There's going to be a lot fewer midweek games. There will be some midweek games, but a lot of the games are almost always going to be on Saturday nights with a spare Sunday thrown in from here to there as well. Let's say 75% of the games are all going to be Saturday nights. It's just going to be an MLS fest. It's like Saturdays are for MLS. In the spring and summer in the United States of America that Saturday night is MLS night. There's going to be the Apple wraparound show that's kind of like a NFL Sunday ticket style version of watching MLS at night that's going to be like a must for me when Charlotte FC is on the road.
Fun.
Yeah, anybody who knows me from SoRare World knows that I'm for the crown all day. I love Charlotte FC. You're going to be hearing a lot. If you don't know me, you're gonna find out how much I love Charlotte FC soon enough if you watch the show. But the whole point is we want to put this show out midweek each week as we get closer to the season and then into the season, so we can give you advice. We want people to be able to like follow our exploits, and you and I want to joke around a lot about our own teams and successes we have and mistakes we make and have fun with people that way. But we also want to help. We want you to get something out of watching this show. And one of the coolest dynamics is, even though you and I are good friends, we've hung out, we shared a beer in real life, we've been talking online for years and years, like we don't always agree. We don't always see eye to eye on things. And I like to give you a lot of shit for your purchases and your sales. And you're still trying to convince me that Christian Benteke is about to dominate the league. So I think we can get some good banter going there. But I want to help people. And my thought for today was, let's look at the first month of the schedule and see, like, if you are new to MLS or trying to add reinforcements to your MLS side from last year, like, what are some teams that you can target players from that are going to pay off big in the first month thanks to a soft schedule, right? So we now know the schedule. We can talk about that and break it down a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, no, it sounds good to me. For one, I have been pretty heavy in the off season. Well, I haven't done a ton of scouting, but I have been focusing in, even before the schedule came out, to see where guys that are playing in the CONCACAF Champions League, kind of just seeing where their prices are fluctuating, because I do feel like that adds a little bit more utility when you can add a guy like that to your collection, because they're playing not only the MLS games, but they're playing CONCACAF Champions League games. And those, I know SoRare has been kind of hit or miss as far as the coverage of some of these competitions, but I think they did cover CONCACAF Champions League at least in some, to some degree.
They did.
Last
yeah,
season.
Once it gets past the group, they definitely covered the knockouts. I think they might have covered some of the group stage, which would be some nice mismatches, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. So we'll see how that kind of shakes out. But there are the Champions League teams this year from MLS are Austin, Orlando City, LAFC, Philadelphia, and Vancouver. I think that's it. And so I picked up Galese, which a little bit of a bold move, because for one, he does not have a new contract in hand.
Right.
Word is that Orlando City are close to re-signing him, but it's not a done deal yet. But yeah, I've been trying to kind of look at some of the goalkeepers. I've already got a Thomas Hasal. I've got, like you showed the Brad Stuver auto in there. And so I'd love to have some more LAFC and Philadelphia coverage.
Exactly. Though that extra utility from midweeks that you can get from CCL can actually really help you win some cards, because we know how dead midweeks can be when there's not European Champions League, especially going on. Here's your Galese card that you just bought. I don't see there's any way they don't re-sign him. I mean, you and I, we know some Orlando fans from our trip down there last year. They all seem pretty confident. What'd you get this guy? What'd you pull Galese from? Looks like you got him off of Pavel, which is always nice. What was your trade? Can we look at you? Can we break down your trade?
Yeah, pull it up there. I want to say, so it was a card that I'm trying to think if I won the card, I think I pulled that one in a trade with somebody else. It was actually, I think, a trade for one of my other Stuvers that I got Arnaiz and some ETH for. And and I think the basis behind that was really just wanting to kind of branch out a litlittle bit. Instead of just holding two Stuvers, I wanted another Champions League keeper, and Galese was in that range that Stuver was, and I think I ended up coming out ahead there. I think I ended up with a nice little chunk of ETH to spread around and buy a couple more players with. So
I mean, if you break down the micro of SoRare too closely, you can get a little bit like this trade you made for Galese was 10 days ago. It looks like since then a Galese has sold for cheaper, so his price has gone down. So it might look like, oh, you're already losing the trade or whatever because by what things look like now. But I guarantee you, like, as we get closer to the season, I'm a little surprised. Just as we'll get to a little bit more specific stuff in a second, as far as advice. But in general, are you surprised that we haven't seen a huge rush on MLS cards quite as much of a pump this year as we saw last in December 21?
A little bit. I think World Cup probably has something to do with that. Everybody's been focused in
Makes sense.
on the global cup. But it does feel like the surge is coming. If it's not already starting to happen now, then I've definitely
Right.
started to notice an uptick in prices. I've been getting offers daily now for MLS cards.
Ah,
And
we
so
like
yeah,
offers. Are they good offers or are they shit offers?
they're decent offers. I mean, there's some offers for guys that I don't even have listed. So take that for what you will. But it's fun to at least see some stuff come across and just kind of wet the whistle a little bit and get ready to kind of gear up for the season to start. Which I mean, it's starting what 2 months. It's earlier than normal here for MLS. So February 25th, I believe,
Yeah.
is opening kickoff. Which yeah, it's coming in. It's about to be coming in hot and heavy, I think.
So if we talk a little bit about some of these squads that I think is worth targeting, are worth targeting, excuse me, to get players again for looking on that first month of the season horizon. Now that we have a schedule, I want to look at some graphs. Shout out to a great Twitter user, Solar MLS Scout, who put some graphs together. Let's start in the East because that's where Charlotte FC is. Might as well. But he broke down in sort of a really cool visualization the look of who's playing who, when and where, etc. And if I've had the right one here, that's actually the West. Let's start in the West since that's the one I put up. He like basically, if you look at this, blue squares are good, or red squares are bad, orange squares are not that great, etc. And so I'm looking, and there's a team that pops out of this right away to me. And it's not the team you would maybe expect, which is the San Jose Earthquakes. So if you look, they have blue squares for their first 7 weeks of the season. Now, we know about parity in MLS and how teams change a lot from year to year, and you can't always like use last year's record as an example of who's going to be good or bad next season. We know that, but like there's at least a little bit to it. And look at San Jose Earthquakes with some nice, tasty matchups for the whole first 6-7 weeks of the season. It's pretty nice.
Oh yeah, and it's they've got some players for me that they were kind of hit or miss last year. Espinoza is one that I've always kind of liked as a number, that kind of number 10 that can also play out on the wing.
We love Espy for sure.
Yeah, and then Montero, I was kind of skeptical of how his move from Philadelphia to San Jose would go. Seemed like a little bit of a regression for him last season.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe there was a little bit of an adjustment period there. He still brought in some pretty solid scores there, and I think Montero, he was one that I started looking at his price a couple weeks ago and started to notice it starting to trend up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to think that there's not that there's not too many savvy users out there that aren't like. I mean, obviously the schedule just came out yesterday, but just trying to figure out what the basis is behind that, other than just that he's a part of that San Jose midfield.
Yeah, let's look at Montero's 1 year graph. You can see like he was killing it early, right? Still, and then he kind of had a big dip. There was a talk about how he might have wanted to go home. He might want to leave the U.S. for family reasons, right? But then he
Yeah.
ended up staying, and his price kind of flattened out. But all during this time where he sort of like found his range, like these prices selling up here when he was like super hot. I feel bad for any red dots up here because that's probably a little too high for him. But what we're seeing is the price is stabilized at about 0.238 ETH for a rare, 0.013 for a limited. And let's look at the scores over that same period because you can sort of see the scores were going up, the price went up, and then he sort of he petered out at the end of the season. This is a guy I like. He's a quality player, and with a favorable schedule for the first month and a half, I got to say it's screaming buy to me on Montero.
Yeah, I think he's, especially second go around with San Jose, I think he's in for a bit of a bounce back. It wasn't like he had a terrible year last year. Maybe he gets a little bit more involved going forward, like he did in Philly. That's what we want to see out of him. And so I'm happy to be holding the card. trying to
It's
go
really
down the
all
list here
about
and
he's averaging. I like to break scores down into terms of decisive score versus AA score all the time. You'll always be talking about that on this show. AA 13.5 over the last 1 year for Montero. If we look at his L15, it's down a little bit at 11.7. But if we look at his L40, it's still at 13.4. And that's most of those games are with the Quakes. So like he's putting about 13 AA points. He just needs the decisives to like really bring home the good scores. And with a favorable schedule that first month, I like the chance for decisives to come. What do you think?
oh yeah. Yeah, I definitely, like I said, I think he's gonna bounce back, and I think he's due to get a little more involved going forward. Which, on top of those decisives, those are some competition, some podium winning scores when you can get the best of both worlds there. So I think he's that kind of player that could do that.
If we, yeah, and so Montero, legit. I think he's one of the best buys you could do. How would you compare? I used to be a holder of Espinoza. Espinoza is probably a slightly, more people are more used to him. He plays a little bit more attacking. How would you compare Espinoza versus Montero in terms of their card value? Because if you look, Espy is actually a little bit cheaper. As I switch over to the Espinoza tab, he's trading at about 0.16 for a rare, under $10, 0.008 for a limited. If we just look and make sure those prices are accurate. I mean, you can get an Espinoza for even cheaper. Problem with him is he just doesn't quite have the defensive stats that bring a higher AA. You can see his 1 year AA is 9. His L40 AA is 7.5. L50, he actually did have a pretty good L15. Excuse me. He's actually had a good run towards the end of the season with AA points. Who would you rather buy, Christian Espinoza for 0.13 rare or Jamiro Montero for 0.24 rare?
Yeah, I mean, if Espinoza's healthy coming into the season, all signs are pointing to him being another key part of what San Jose is doing. It would probably be him for a little cheaper. Just he is involved on a good bit of their set pieces. Pretty sure that he was taking penalties for him last season at one point. And so, I think where Montero is going to give you more of those AAs and be maybe a little more consistent of a point scorer than Espinoza is the guy that can pop up with some pretty big games here if he's dropping assists and turns up with a PK goal here and there too.
The other team that looks really good for that first month of the season is Austin FC. If we look back at our Western Conference graph, you can see, again, shout out to Sorare MLS Scout on Twitter who made these visualizations. Definitely don't want to steal credit because these are really nice and really useful, I think. Austin FC looking, they have a nice run of blue dots there. There are no secrets to us at this point, right? We know how good Austin FC is, and it comes down to just two guys, which is nice, Driussi and Fagundes. Like, do you expect these guys to just keep doing what they were doing last year all season long again?
Yeah, as long as Driussi doesn't go to England.
Man, that's not happening. That's not happening.
Yeah,
Austin's ambitions are too high for that. I feel like, and I think he seems pretty happy in the United States. I got to say.
Yeah, no, he's yeah, and he had such a hell of a season last year. And
we have all seen those rumors, but I just don't believe them. Call me crazy.
Yeah, we saw the rumors, and then I think there's an Instagram story that popped up that showed him, drinking his yerba mate or whatever it is, and
exactly,
watching the Leeds game, and so that definitely made the heart skip a little bit.
No doubt.
I'd hate to see that card lose some value if he made the leap, but yeah, Driussi and Fagundes, obviously at the back for me. Then Stuver had some big performances for us last year. I think I think he just signed another extension.
Stuve is re-signed. Stuve is Verde all the way for sure.
So he's locked in.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Austin are making some other moves in the off season. I think, let's see. Yeah, they just brought in Toure, Dutch winger that we'll see how he integrates into the mix.
Yep. Sophie Njafal, right, as a central midfielder.
Yeah, and they got Zardes now too. So
yeah, Zardes obviously don't sleep on that. Do you think Zardes starts? Oh, so that's a good question. So a lot of people, I never had this guy, but a lot of my Sorare friends got a lot of usage out of Maxi Arudi. I know you're a huge Arudi fan. Is Arudi going to continue to be the main starting striker for Austin FC, or is it going to be Zardes, or is it going to be Musa Jite?
Hey, it could be Gite. He showed some glimpses last year, but just the way that Urudi's getting older. Obviously, Zardes is too, but the way that Urudi started to kind of fade at times last year, it felt like Austin was seeking out somebody to bring in to hopefully compete for that starting role. And I think Zardes actually, I know he gets a lot of crap.
Like
in general.
Look at Urudi's numbers here in like April, May range. He's like bagging decisives. He's getting 10 AA points as a forward. He's giving you a lot to love here. As we move into July, it starts to tail off. You see a huge run of yellow scores here in late July and early August. And then all of a sudden, then it's like his blue starting icons start turning into red sub icons. He's getting 3 minutes a game, 25 minutes a game. He doesn't seem like he's part of Austin's plans for the future. Do you think that was because of injury or just run out of steam? I'm not sure, but tough to hold this card these days.
Yeah, it might have been some of both, but I don't know 100% if he was injured or not at the end of the season. But I do remember, when he was appearing off the bench, and it was just subpar production. And Gite, I think, stepped in and had a couple big games that made you kind of sit up and think, why isn't this guy their normal starter? But he's another one I think that's taken a little bit of time to get used to the league. He could be in for a big year, but at this point, man, I think Zardes, it's kind of just in his hands if he wants to take that number 9 role. And I actually think that he would fit in quite well with Driussi and Fagundes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Driussi, El Crack, we know he can play striker. He can play creative attacking mid. He can play wing. Driussi kind of does it all. He fits in as needed, like where the club needs him, which is a pretty cool thing. I got one question. There's one more team in the West I want to talk about before we move to the East, but I got a question for you. I need your advice, really, on Driussi. So look at this guy. He's beautiful. Look at he's bright, shining. He fits with the green, the mint green that Austin stole from Charlotte FC as a color. It's all great. So, but I want to look at. I have where's my rankings page? I looked at the rankings. What I want you to focus on here is this price. Look at this limited price, 0.141, $175, right? So like limited card prices have crashed big time in the last like 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And I'm not so sure that, like, as much as I love Driussi and think he's great and think he's like the ultimate guy you want to like plug into your lineups, obviously, and just feel good about it. You can put him in any lineup and feel like you're in contention for a reward, right? I want to show you. This is the list of MLS forwards. So this is my search criteria. MLS forward who's played at least 12 of the last 15 games, right? So Diego Rubio, number 1, had a great year. Diego Rubio came out of nowhere a lot. Driussi is actually not even the top-ranked forward. Look at this limited value column. Just go down, looking at the floor price. Rubio, the number 1 player, 0.078. Velasco, great youngster with huge U23 eligibility, 0.08. Vela, 0.06. Higgy retired, so he doesn't count. Savarino, who I'm a big Savarino holder. He's hitting his prime, 0.05. Chicharito Hernandez, 0.02. Brenner and Vasquez, the Cincy boys, 0.05, 0.06 each. Is there a case to be made that Sebastian Driussi Limited is just insanely overpriced and I need to sell mine? Because like at 0.141, he's like 2x the price of like almost any other elite MLS forward right now. And I'm wondering if I'm making a mistake by holding as good as he is. What do you think?
Yeah. When I saw that price, I did think that price seems, overweight to for a limited card. But I want to say that he was going for, I remember seeing him go for like 0.10 or somewhere in that range not too long ago.
Right. If we look at that 0.142 price is an hour ago. I mean, it's not like it's not like it's a fake price from months ago. Like we talk about MLS prices, are they climbing yet? His is starting to climb, and I just feel like for him to be like this higher, much higher price than guys who actually ahead of him in the rankings even is like, it's just insane to me. I think I might need to test the market on Driussi. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think, depending on what you got him for, and if you have any kind of, everybody kind of sets their own limitations as far as if, you paid a certain amount, what you absolutely got to get back out of it. But
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think that you hold it, and yeah, I mean, it could be in the
Oh, you think hold?
same. Yeah, it could be in the same range by the time the season starts.
Mm-hmm.
Or I mean, I don't think it's going to start going down
I don't know,
before
man.
the
I
season
feel like I
starts.
could sell and get a Velasco, or like sell and get a Brandon Vasquez and just pocket the difference. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy
Yeah,
here. I don't know.
yeah. No, I mean, I don't think you would be in the wrong if you went that route. I'm just saying, I think it could even get up pushing point two before the start of the
All
season.
right, I'll keep it. You can see when we talk about how it sold an hour ago. I'm looking, and you can see there's a live auction that ends in 14 hours. That's already up to 0.141. So like you have to figure that's going to get at least one more bid up to like 0.156 range. And so you're right. It might start to approach 0.2. Right now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 offers plus the auction that are all under 0.2. But you might be right. It might be getting up to point. If he goes to 0.2 before the season starts, I have to sell. I feel like as good as he is,
Yeah,
as much as I love him, and as many
yeah,
times as you have, like we have a running joke in our side chats about how you're like, I think I should sell Drewsy, and I'm like, don't sell Drewsy, don't ever
yeah.
sell Drewsy, but it might
I
have to
had so
happen.
many of them at one time that I just had to,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I had too many eggs in one basket, and so
Sure.
the special edition card is the lone Juicy I have left, and yeah, that one I'm like, I've had some nice offers come across for it, but I'm kind of glad you guys have talked me into hanging on to that one. That's a
Mm-hmm.
prize so rare possession for me. So,
Yeah, I always think
but
that
no,
that card could have been mine. There's a long story about how I wish that had been my card. I do see that you've got it posted on offer for sale here for 2 ETH.
uh,
So
yeah, I
something you
mean,
need to
never
tell us?
know.
Are you trying to unload here?
If somebody wants to pay me double the going rate or more, then I'll take it. Just because of a nice little background there, I'll take it.
Nice.
But
Okay, the other team. Before we waste too much time in Driussi weeds here, I want to talk about Portland because this is a team that if you look at our trusty MLS Sorare scout graph that he made, Portland Timbers are rocking a decent number of blue squares in their first month also. So this is a team that I think had a rough year last year. They have a high standard. They're used to success, and they are ready to bounce back based on the fact that they probably made the biggest splash signing of the offseason so far in MLS, which was bringing in Evander, the Brazilian from the Danish league, who figures to be an absolute stud in this league. What do you think of the Timbers? What do you think of Evander? Where's your head on that?
yeah, the Timbers were an interesting one last year because coming into the season, then Blanco was the man. Obviously, he's getting old. He's what? I mean, he's getting up there. I'm not even sure how involved
However
he'll
old
be this
he is,
year.
his knees are even older. Let's just put it that
Yeah,
way.
right.
Yeah.
And then their keeper was an interesting situation there too. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to say going into the season right now, just on the state of the Timbers roster. But I could see a guy like Yemi Chara, who was frustrating to own last season, but he did come up with some good performances here and there, and he has a forward card too, which helps. So I could see Yemi Chara being one that could have a good season if the Timbers are in line for for a good, uh, not easy, but nice schedule to start
Yeah,
the
they
season
have
out.
the favorable first month that
Favorable
we're kind of
schedule, yeah.
spotlighting here. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Yimi's
Um,
nice, and Yimi is one of those that has forward and midfield cards, right? So you have to make sure that if you're buying them, you get the position you actually want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've definitely gone the wrong way on those before, and it's definitely a wake up call. I think
If
you've
you
got to
look,
have a couple of those transactions in order to make sure that you double check.
his 2022 rares are forward, his 2021 rares are midfield, and his limiteds, I believe, are all forward. His limiteds are all forwards. But yeah, if you're buying the Yimmy rare, which is the Yimmy rare has come down exceptionally in price. I think it's because people expect Evander to take sets. He kind of lost his sets right at the end of the year. He kind of, if you look at his scores here, that it's that big downtrend that's going to drive his price down. But I kind of like Yimmy, or it's Jimmy, right? It's actually more of a Jimmy, I should say. I like his chances to get back into that great form he was showing in mid-season last year, to where he was kind of doing everything for the Timbers. When Blanco came back, it hurt him, but Blanco's not really a threat to him anymore, I don't think. Evander is a little bit, but he's got to adjust to the league. I could see myself in the market for a Jimmy because I want to make sure to get the forward card, but for 0.15 compared to what some other forwards are going for right now, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's really not. And he was frustrating to own. I had him for a portion of the year last year, and just several pedestrian games in a row that just as a when you're trying to win, then it's just not helpful. But
Right.
a lot of times, and not just it's
Look at his 1
schedule
year.
based, it's form based, it's and if he's dealing with a good schedule, if he's got some good pieces around him like Evander, then hey, I could see him turn it around and have another good season. And I think his price kind of reflects his lack of production last year, so might be a good value right now.
I mean, he was holding all through the summer here up in the 0.3 range, and now he's half that. And I think he has certainly the potential to get back early. Again, pointing out that favorable schedule that they've got to start the season. I think Jimmy's a buy as well. I think we're buying Jimmy. We're buying Espinoza. We're buying Austin FC. We're buying Zardis. We're buying Gite. Like, these are some cards that you want to be targeting for your MLS build outs for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just looking up Evander here just to kind of see where his price has been falling.
Evander's we're definitely buying Evander, but we're asking Grandma for some extra Christmas money to buy Evander for sure.
There's something good in the stocking for sure.
Yeah, exactly. He'd be a great stocking stuffer. His price actually has come down. I think when he first was announced to MLS, it was like, oh shit, and the rumor started, and he was crushing it for the Danish league. He's up here trading at like 1.4 for a rare, and it's like, oh shizzle. And then his price, actually, kudos to these peeps who got him at 0.40. That's an absolute, like, whoever pulled those off is pretty nice. One of those is an auction. I wish I would have been watching that auction. He's back up now to the 0.6, 0.7 range. You see our boy Fripp. Fripp is the man behind the sorare.usa, sorareusa.eth Twitter account that publishes like vital injury information. We should have him on the show at some point in the middle of the year. Like, Fripp's awesome, and he's all in on Evander. He had to go get him. You recognize some other names. So when you see people, Roddy Boss is a pretty big, decent sized whale as well. So like, there's kind of a seal of approval on Evander. Wild price swings if you look from like, 0.6 in 0.6, 0.7 range 4 months ago, all the way up, doubled his price within a couple months as he started crushing it for Meachland. And now he's at 0.7. Floor offer on the table is 0.815. You could probably talk that person down, whoever's selling this. Does he have limiteds? Yes, he does. Limiteds are so I could sell my Driussi limited and buy an Evander and still have money left over, So like, and we're expecting this guy. We don't know exactly what to expect from him, but like, shout out to most people are thinking like his ceiling, his potential upside is to be like the Carlos Heel of MLS this year in terms of a Sorare cheat card that's just always banging out 75, 80 points every time. Do you believe that those rumors?
Say that again one more time. Sorry.
Do you think Evander can become the Carlos? His card can become the Carlos Heel of 2023 in MLS?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for Portland, the way that their attack shakes out, I mean, he's got to be the guy, right? I mean, I would think that hopefully they've got their eye on bringing in another attacker. I don't think that Nijgoda and Mora are necessarily. I mean, they're good guys that can pop up any given game and have a good game, but for Evander to come in, they're going to give him the keys of the car, and he's gonna have every opportunity to provide some big numbers, and I think that he's going to do it.
Where do you stand on Asprilla? Because I'm not a big Asprilla guy.
Same. I think that he's a good. He can be a good kind of just filler piece for Portland. I felt like that was what he was last year. I don't feel like he was any. He's somebody that can turn up with a goal here and there. He's just so goal dependent. It seems like that. I just was not at any point really too interested in going and grabbing him.
Yeah, I agree. Well, so we've basically identified, if we're looking at our West based on the first month of schedule, soft schedule that we like, we're basically looking at Evander and Jimmy Chara forward card from Portland. We're looking at Fagundes, Driussi if you have the money, Zardis, or maybe Gite as a budget option forwards for Austin. We're looking at drawing up the San Jose guys, either SB or Montero. Like, we've identified some nice attacking pieces that you can get right in for your first month of Sorare MLS this year in the West. How about we move it over to the East and we check out some of their soft schedules, and maybe we can find some defenders and a goalie. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Is there anyone that you like just before? Here we go. I'll break down. So again, we're looking for blue boxes here in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. We see Atlanta with all blue and whites. We see Cincinnati, the up-and-coming team from last year, with mostly blue and dark blue. We see Columbus Crew with a decent amount of blue, although their first game's not tough. Toronto FC, I definitely want to talk about them. So if we're looking at Toronto, Cincy, Atlanta, Columbus, what are there? And my boys on Charlotte FC, I might throw in some love for them. And we want to talk about defensive options to fill out sort of a fresh MLS team. Who you like?
One guy I've had my eye on lately, I like to try to stock up on goalkeepers kind of as early as I can. And he's not the most attractive option especially coming off a big injury last year, but Brad Guzan, if he's back, if he's ready to start.
I knew you were going to say it. Yeah, brutal.
You knew I was going to say it, right? I mean, the guy's almost 40 years old, right? He's in my range. But
these old guys, I don't know why you have this love for these old guys, man. It's pathetic. But go on. I'll let you make your case.
Well, it's just price. I mean, it's solely price based with Guzan. I mean, if you can tell me that he's for sure ready to go, which he's been pretty vocal about coming back, and I think that this could be his last go around. But yeah, if they give him the starting nod for what 0.24 is, I think around where he's going at right now. And
there's an offer on the table for 0.241, which is cheaper than last sale from 3 days ago. So
yeah, and it's going to be hard to find a starting keeper at that. I think I was buying up Jimmy Mars for that at one point. Unfortunately, he lost his starting job, so I hope that doesn't go the same way.
You got Mara addicted.
I was Mara addicted. Super rares, limiteds, rares. I think I was even offering. Did he have a SIG card?
Do you still have any of the screenshots with the Mara addicted is sort of an inside joke we could explain, where Scotty was chatting with this guy, like trying to buy like 3 or 4 different Brian Moores from him, and or Joe Moores, right? Excuse me. And so Brian, Jimmy, Joe, whatever,
something like that.
Yeah, you would know because you're more addicted. Yeah, like as you were telling this guy, I'm trying to get as many Mora cards as possible. He's like, you're more addicted, and like, you showed me that screenshot.
He was European or foreign, so the translations were kind of spotty, and so instead of saying something like, "Oh man, you must love more," then it comes across and says, "You are more addicted." And so we were getting a nice chuckle out of that. But that's what I love about Sorare too, man. Just trying to decipher some of the back and forths on these transactions for MLS cards. That it's cool to see some of the overseas guys get into MLS. But it's always a trip trying to communicate and that kind of thing.
Shout out to my boy Desper, who I met through John Nellis's Discord, Polish guy who's really, really into MLS, and I advised him on a Philly stack and an Austin stack last year that paid off pretty well for him. So
sweet.
Not bad. You can be more addicted. We need to come up with we'll put a regular segment on the show called Hey Mate, and that'll be like for all our just random chats and crazy offers that come up. So you didn't really make a case for Guzan to me on anything other than price, which I just don't think Guzan makes it to the All-Star break. I think he'll get hurt again. I just think he's old and fragile at this point. But I will, hey, if you want to recommend Guzan, I'm going to let you recommend Guzan. It's not going to happen for me though.
Yeah, I'll say it's a situation to monitor. Again, for a starting keeper this cheap, he's not going to be this cheap for longer, especially if we start picking up news that he's healthy going into training camp.
I do agree there. His price should come up nicely from 0.24 where it's at. Good call.
Yeah, I mean,
I would almost buy one.
His price.
If I would buy one today and maybe flip it because I think his price is going to go up. I can't see myself carrying him into the season though, because in reality, I do have zero faith in him. So
yeah, well, even with the schedule, possibly,
the schedule helps. Yeah, for sure. They probably have, just based on the color coding from our boy MLS Sorare Scout, they have the most favorable schedule in the East of any of these things. Although I do know that third week they're playing at Charlotte FC, and that's going to be a loss for them. So that I don't agree with that light blue square on week 3 for Atlanta. So again,
Okay.
and teams change year to year. So
yeah, I was kind of surprised to see Charlotte with a little bit of an easier schedule to start out. That's when that St. Louis hasn't even played an MLS game before, and that's their
right.
first game.
Right. I think it's their home opener. I think they play somebody. St. Louis plays somebody else tough in their first match, and then we eat down the road, and then we go to their home opener. Yeah, Charlotte plays New England at home, then St. Louis, then Atlanta at home, then at Orlando. Pretty nice run out for Charlotte, I will say. And I could brag up Charlotte guys all day, and I will be doing that all year. So there's no need for me to keep after it too hardcore just today. But what I want to do is bring your attention to another goalkeeper situation in the East that is just really fascinating to me. And I want to get your thoughts on this. As like, for anybody who doesn't know, Skylar Draft Kicks, he's been pretty much the MLS fantasy expert for the last few years for the MLS, what do you call it? FMLS game. The guy, you absolutely have crushed it. Your roots go so deep in this league, and you know a lot of stuff. So I want to get your opinion on whatever read you can. It's tough because we don't have a lot of news. I was looking for some news from this before the show, and there's really no definitive stuff. But one of the teams we looked at that has a nice schedule here, if you look down at the bottom of this chart, is Toronto FC. 4 blue squares, five blue squares in their first 6 games, right? We have no clue who Toronto FC's goalkeeper is right now. It's all over. Bono's gone. Westberg is gone. And if you look, they have two goalkeepers on the roster right now who are exceptionally cheap on Sorare. Greg Ranjitsingh right here as you're looking at him, and then Tomas Romero, who they got in the MLS re-entry draft after he kind of crapped out in LAFC and never really got anything accomplished there. They both have cards. Romero trading right now, you can buy Romero for 0.175. You can buy Ranjitsingh for 0.0724. That combined is just about the cost of the Brad Guzan that we talked about a second ago. You can buy 2 goalkeepers for the price of Guzan, and then you're kind of covered whoever emerges as the starter, and you have the handcuff already. But I'm wondering, do you think that it's realistic that one of these guys, Romero or Ranjitsingh, will start the season, or is it just wishful thinking and they're almost certainly going to go out and get somebody new here before the season starts?
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting one. I feel like Toronto are putting together a solid team. I mean, they had a really frustrating season last year.
Yep, but they got a lot of talent.
They've got a lot of talent. They're already starting to make some moves. Just brought in Matt Hedges. So that's already a pretty strong anchor at the back. And so, yeah, I mean, you want to kind of try to determine who's going to be the number one for Toronto. And they just, I think they just picked Romero up off of the MLS re-entry draft.
Yep.
And they signed Ranjitsingh, I don't know, a little while back. But yeah, I mean, just looking at those two, it's hard to imagine that either of them are being looked at as a number one right off the bat. I know Romero played under Bob Bradley at LAFC, and so may kind of give a little slight lean towards Romero based on that, based on Bob bringing him back in. Just knowing what
Bob
he knows
loves his guys.
Oh yeah.
Well,
and so
for 0.175, man, I mean that's about as cheap as you can find a starting goalkeeper these days for a rare. 0.016 for I might just buy a limited on spec just to throw it out there, like for 0.018 to get a starter out of the deal would not be that bad.
Yeah, no, and he had some the games that he did start for LAFC, he had some good performances. I mean, I think he had some sloppy ones here and there too, but I mean, I want to say that some of what I saw was encouraging. I just don't know. I feel like I feel like Toronto might have something else up their sleeve as far as bringing in a big name keeper.
That is the question for sure.
Yeah, because I mean they let go of Bono, who's at DC now, which will be another interesting story to see how that shakes out, because you've got Bono and Tyler Miller there in DC now. But yeah, Toronto let go of Westberg and Bono, who were both starting at one point or another in the season. You got to think that that's like a position that they're prioritizing to strengthen right off the top, it doesn't feel like Romero Ranjit Singh is that guy, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Ranjit Singh's 20. We look at the Romero scores that you mentioned earlier. We have to go all the way back to, 2021 when he got some game time for LAFC. Looks like he also, was with the El Salvadorian national team but didn't play. But he had a nice little run here, right, to launch his career. This must have been like right when they benched Pablo Cisniega, maybe. I'm not sure, because Pablo was the starter in 21, then he got benched for somebody. Romero comes in, gets clean sheet, clean sheet in 3 out of his first 4 games. They're loving him, and then boom, here comes the fall. Like, he starts having some bad games. He's getting yellows. He's getting negative scoring in the Sorare matrix. Took him forever and then finally they replaced him, and I think they replaced him with that guy. I forget his first name, but it was Blackman was his last name, and he was really good.
Jamal Blackman, I think.
Yeah, Jamal for LAFC. He kind of kicked Romero out of the gig there, if I remember right. But if we compare it to Ranjit Singh, what's he ever done in life, right? If we look at his all-time scoring chart, he has a lot less experience. Yeah. Three matches here back in game week 94, which I think was in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. September. So it's been 2 years since he's even seen the field.
Yeah,
it's been over a year since Romero's even seen the field. Can they really go into the season with just these two guys? Is it too good to be true? Is it just wishful thinking for me to think that I can go buy a starting goalkeeper for a 175 rare right now?
I would definitely be a little hesitant there. Might be a big spend for a backup keeper.
Yeah.
And
Lord knows I've made enough of those already myself, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Talking to, like we said, the Mara addicted. I'm holding the super rare, a couple of rares, I think. But no, I do think, like I said, I feel like Toronto's definitely got something else planned for their keeper position. And if it's Romero, then from what I've seen, he's shown some promise. He's young. And so even if you do pick him up and roll the dice a little bit, then I think that you've got somebody that could probably pay dividends in the long run. So
I might just buy the limited just to see, because I could use another limited goalkeeper and who knows. But
yeah,
anyway,
that shakes out.
That is a lot of fun, a lot of good info. I feel like we kind of done well to dig deep and well, maybe not deep, but dig in and find a few guys that we can recommend to you to purchase. Really fun to just be talking about the league again with you, Skylar, and I look forward to doing it all year. And anything you want to say here before we say goodbye to the audience on Sorare TV?
Yeah, it's fun to get back into the mix. I feel like maybe take some of this with a little bit of a grain of salt, because we're still 2 months out, which the season come up pretty quick, but right now there's still a lot happening. We even got the MLS Super Draft happening later this afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording here on a Wednesday, and so
maybe St. Louis can finally get a good player on their team, or
yeah, maybe they can get them a Ben Bender or something, like Charlotte picked up in last year's Super Draft.
Yeah.
So, but we're gonna start to see teams make moves. I think even today we could see some trades happen, players going to different clubs. We just saw Aaron Herrera get traded to Montreal yesterday, and that was part of a super draft move. And so we're going to start to see some things start to come together as rosters start to come together, and we'll start to kind of be able to gauge our decisions as far as Sorare moves that we want to make a little bit better. And so, yeah, that's kind of our hope, is to break down some of that as the season approaches. And yeah, let's have some fun with it, man. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, drop a comment. Anybody that's watching, drop comment in the underneath this video and let us know like stuff you want us to talk about, questions you want answered. Like, we got a lot. Like, I love to have a lot of fun with this, and you have like so much knowledge that I feel like we can like be a really good resource for people that want to expand their MLS collection. I have a lot of Sorare friends who are Europeans who still are hesitant to get into MLS, but we're dragging them over one by one, getting these people into the America division. So let us know what you want us to talk about all year. We're going to be coming at you every week with a different topic, trying to give you some pointed advice, make you smile, make you laugh, make you think about Sorare. That's the goal. And we thank you all for watching.
Thanks, guys.